Hello everyone, I'm going to try and keep this as, I'll be honest, I'm going to try and keep this brief as I can because I could probably talk about this for a long time. I'm not really going to go off a script, I'm not going to edit this out, so if you hear like pauses, M's, blah blah blah, you're going to have to deal with it. I'm not a professional, I just want this kind of done because I want to talk about it. I'm going to keep it as spoiler free as I can because I know a lot of people's enjoyment does come from experiencing these games for themselves for the first time blind, and I respect that because I'm exactly the same. So I'm going to try and keep this spoiler free, probably just put footage in from like the start of the network tests or pretty much the tutorial area, and I'll kind of just talk over it but not talk about what's happening on screen because right now I'm just talking into Audacity and nothing's on screen because I can't even remember what is in that opening bits of footage. So quick kind of bit about my background. Played all the Souls games. I've done a few of them hitless, and that's it really. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here, far from it. But so top and bottom of it, I've been mega excited for this. Expectations being up and down at different periods. I was one of these people who, after seeing the original E3 trailer, I thought it was maybe going to be out the next year or pretty soon-ish. And how wrong I was, and understandably so, because it's a big game, it's open world, it's not like something FromSoft have done before, so it's very new, it's very different, and it's probably took a lot of work, and you can tell from this network test alone. So yeah, expectations wise, they were high. The open world stuff, I didn't know how FromSoft were going to handle it because, past experience with other games, you'll see towns full of NPCs, and that's their life in a game. It comes from like their open world is populated by these kind of randoms in the town doing their own thing, and you overhear chatter and stuff. And I don't think anybody expected FromSoft to do that. And based on what I'm about to say, I don't think they will. And I'm pretty much sure they've said in an interview it's not going to be the quote unquote traditional open world game as we know it. So. But I will get to that. So expectation was pretty high. I was kind of starting to kind of tail them down slightly as time got on because I thought, what if this isn't as good as everyone hoped? And yeah, so I'll get straight into it. As I say, it's pretty much spoiler free. I'll not talk too much detail into stuff, and I'm certainly not going to show anything that you would consider a spoiler or something you don't want to see. And once again, if you hear ums and ahs and pauses, suck it up, right? Sorry. I'm not sorry. So, I want to first address the open world. It's a big thing. It's not like anything they've done before. And it feels so alive and organic and intriguing in a way that, like, I've played Breath of the Wild, I've played The Witcher 3, Death Stranding's, I guess, kind of open world, but I'm going to focus more on kind of open world RPGs. Never been a big Skyrim guy. Don't at me. But yeah. So the world itself is very different to those, I feel. And this is something that FromSoft do so well, which is level design. And although in some ways it is an open area, you still get that feeling of everything's decided and everything's considered before it's done. Like, it's hard to explain without showing in too much detail, of course, but there's certain, like, you'll see something off in the background, and I mean, this is the classic trope of an open world. You see something off in the background, ooh, what's that? Let's go and have a look. And that's it. But this feels alive in a way I didn't think was possible. Like, there's animals running around which you can collect their bits from, their meat or whatever, their pellet. There's a lot of different animals and creatures in this world, and they're running around, and you can slay them, you can, slash them, whatever else, or shoot them down, and you collect their stuff, which leads into the crafting mechanic, which I'll touch on briefly in a bit. But all this is going on, and there's like areas of enemies that are pretty much doing their own thing. They're not like talking to one another or anything like that, but once again, I don't want to say what I did because I think part of the enjoyment that I got from that was seeing that for myself. So I'm going to try and cut down exactly what I did and not say it, but you'll see like little groups of mobs, and they just feel they're not there Like, they're not just dumped there. I don't know, it just feels more organic than other things I've played. And I can't really put it into words. You've got to play it. So even without these towns, because you stumble across like little huts and stuff, and there might be an NPC there, and you have a bit of a chat with them, and that's great. And I think so far in the network test, I've only spoke to maybe 3 or 4 NPCs, and they don't say a whole lot. It's, classic FromSoft. They'll build up in the world slightly, or perhaps they'll mention something for where you need to go, that kind of thing, which I'm not going to say. But there's these instances, which some of you may already know from the gameplay footage that was revealed a few weeks ago. I don't even know. Time's not a thing at the moment. I'm still pretty excited from today. But instances happen where there'll be a big boss that just shows up out of nowhere. So you feel like you're running along and anything can happen. Maybe not anything, there's limitations, but you're walking along to begin with, and there's just so much intrigue. Like, off in the distance, there's like a huge bit of open water, and you look off and you think, God, that sky looks gorgeous, and the trees look fantastic. And this is all when you get out of the tutorial area, which we may see, depending on how long I rabbit on for, you may see if I go that far. But that feeling of exploring this world, and you want to go freaking everywhere. Like, seriously, you really want to just have a look around, because from FromSoft games, they'll hide things, they'll put items in places, illusory walls and hidden passageways and stuff like that. So there's so much potential, and there's just so much intrigue, and it's interesting. You'll see something off in the distance, and you'll think, I can get down there. So rather than, trudging quote-unquote forward, you find yourself a way down, and you get there, and then in true FromSoft fashion, something evil will be there, and it'll probably kill you pretty easily, because it's a pretty hard game, which I'll get to later. So there's like a huge, obviously, freedom approach. Don't know if that's the right term, but it feels very free, in that, for example, I'm going to try and dumb this down. There's a path that you can go up to when you see it, and you'll fight something in the doorway, whereas that makes it harder in some ways, I think, because if you fight in the doorway, all the guards from behind it will presumably run down and intervene and get in your way and make things harder, whereas I went right around the top end of this area and kind of came from the back to the front. So I took down each enemy as I went down, leaving the tougher quote-unquote boss to do last. So I think there's the possibilities are probably going to be endless within reason, endless within reason. I briefly want to talk about some of the new mechanics. As I say, I do want to keep this brief. It's already been 8 minutes. I'm talking, what the fuck. Stamina. You don't use stamina while you're running, which to me is a huge quality of life that I didn't think I wanted. Obviously, it's not new in a sense, because Sekiro does it. You can just run everywhere. There's literally no stamina in that game. You can slash till your heart's content, whereas in this, there's no stamina when you're moving around the world on foot or on horseback, which I'll get to. Or, well, not horseback as such, but on creature back. I don't want to say too much. Even slashing things, so like if you break a pot with a swing of your sword, that doesn't use stamina, which I was like, whoa, this is weird. But it feels like the right move, especially in an open world game. You don't want to have to be managing your stamina, running along and having to stop to then let your stamina. It makes sense, and it feels like something that's so obvious that it makes sense, that it just fits in seamlessly, and I freaking love it. The counter mechanic, I've not really experienced much with this quite yet, because what you do is you would block with a weapon or a shield, and then there's a small window after where if you press R2, you do a counter attack, and that can still be interrupted. So for example, if an enemy's doing 2 attacks straight in a row, you're going to get hit by the second attack, and it's probably going to knock you out of your counter, so it's not too strong. But if you know it's at the end of an enemy's combo, that you can block it and then finish with a counter, you get some decent damage off. There's also, I don't really know what the word is at this point, but there's like a posture damage. It's a hidden meter. It's not visual like it is in Sekiro, but enemies will stagger if you reach this threshold. Bosses can do this as well. I've not really had it happen much on a boss for one, but I'm not going to say where it is. I'm hopefully not even going to show it on screen. But enemies, if you like hit them in a shield like a few times, it'll break their posture, and then you get a visceral attack. I'll call it visceral, why not? But these counterattacks do larger posture damage than a regular attack. So it might be something that, as people start to learn the game and master it, that combat is focused around these counterattacks, but still such an early time, it's hard to say, and I'll come back to this in a little bit. So, horseback. I'm not even going to say the thing's name, because why should I? Find out for yourself, it's going to be great. This is a weird one for me, because, I'll be honest, I'll come straight out. I feel it's the best horseback combat that I've experienced in a game. It doesn't feel amazing, but it feels right. It feels right. So you can choose which side you attack from, whether it be right or left. So you can do a quick right or a quick left side of the creature based on the shoulder button that you press. You can do a charged attack from the right or a charged attack from the left. So L2 is the left side, R2 is the right side. Simple as that. Or if you're playing on Xbox, whatever they are. Whatever the input is. It does feel quite restrictive because it's not, you're not swinging. At least I was using the Bloody Wolf character that is one of the generated builds that you get, and it's a longsword. And you're not very fast swinging. It's not like you can spam attack. You really can't. It's not like that, and I think that's why it feels fair. Because if you're against a grounded enemy, you can like zip around them and get between them. Larger enemies, you can run around its feet, I suppose, and do attacks, but it really feels right. As I say, it doesn't feel overpowered or anything like that yet. I mean, it could change as people explore the game and break it to a degree. But right now it feels very good, and it feels right for how I would want a horseback combat to feel. At least with a sword, anyway. It does give you an advantage to grounded foes. And it's interesting when you fight a foe when you're on foot, but they're on horseback. Like, it's scary. It's scary because they're moving around, and so you've kind of got to match them by jumping on it. You don't have to, but you know the freedom's there. Jump on your own steed and fight them back equally, in a sense. The horseback motion, I keep calling it a horse. It's not a horse, but I'll probably just keep calling it horse. The motion feels great. The jump feels great. It's got a double jump. It's got a dash, dodge kind of thing, so you can quickly zip into it, do an attack, or you can zip out to avoid something. I don't think it's got much in the way of iframes as such. So, you know, you probably can't rely on it to truly dodge something, but it'll certainly get you out of the way. There's a mechanic where there's like a thing on the ground that lights up. You probably see it on the trailer to like propel you up into the air, and you can get to a higher area. That feels good. It feels really satisfying to ride around. And the summon, you quickly summon it, and you can quickly jump off it, so you can be running along fast as hell. See a group of enemies, dismiss it, and you jump off, and you can go into an attack, and it feels cool. Summoning, I was really on the fence about this when I first saw it in the gameplay, because maybe I don't know. I've never really played these games co-op. I've always done it single player, and I've always liked it that way. And like, I'm not one of these difficult people where saying like you should play it without summoning anything, because play it however the hell you like. But I was dubious about these summons. I don't know. I don't know if I felt they were going to be too strong, or it was just a mechanic I just was not interested in. Maybe it's partially a bit of both. I don't know, really. But after finally playing it, I tried them out, and they're okay. I summoned a pack of wolves, and it kind of acted as crowd control in a huge group of enemies, and so I could have some breathing room while these wolves kind of tanked them briefly, and I would like kind of sneak in and backstab a few of the enemies. So I felt pretty good. It's still probably too early to really give a hard opinion on summoning, but because it's optional, like, you know, you don't have to do it. Even if it turns out that it makes the game broken or too easy, that's fine. If you want to play summons, summon at Lee Heart's content, but with it being optional, it's not a deal breaker really, but it's early to say. Dungeons. I've managed to stumble across a few so far on the first day of the network test, because this is only day 1. I'm talking about this. The first one I didn't have a torch for, so I was pretty much going through blind, which was so good, so good. 'Cause you don't know how deep you're going, you don't know how tough things are going to be, so it was a good feeling, that sense of exploration, the unknown. And you know, when you first pick up one of these games, that feeling of not knowing where you're going, should you be there, are things here going to be too tough. That's what it's all about, and that was great. And with that said, I later on got a torch, and when you first enter a dungeon, you pull out the torch and it illuminates the area. It's just gorgeous. Like the shadows, obviously you can see more because that's how light works. I'm playing this on PS5 as well, so I don't know whether it'll look as good on like the base PS4, for example, but it looks great. It looks absolutely gorgeous. The dungeons themselves, the ones I've been in, have been quite small. Not small in like, this is too small, this is rubbish, but it's been an in and out. There's maybe been a mini boss at the end, for example. Got some items, but the layout of the dungeons feel good. I've seen some traps, but once again, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I'm really excited to just go into all these dungeons and go somewhere I shouldn't be and get scared and then get stuck. To be honest, I'm really excited for that. A lot like in Breath of the Wild, where you would see a shrine. You know, you gotta get that shrine. It's gonna be like this, but it's honestly, I'm really excited. I can't wait for 3 AM tomorrow. 3 AM tomorrow to set my alarm, dive back in, and continue. Combat, which is gonna be, I'm gonna mention next, which is definitely gonna be on everybody's lips. At first glance, it kind of plays a lot like Dark Souls. There's no denying that. You know, it's what's the word I'm looking for? Tried and proven, proven and tried. I don't know. It's a proven formula that bloody works, right? You hit shit and you roll away from shit and it feels good, right? But it's more than that. It's more than just Dark Souls combat. The way the enemies are and the boss fights are, I feel it's really gonna punish veterans of the series and people who are gonna go in and be like, yeah, I know how this works. Because the enemy attacks, seriously, they're so fast. They're really fast. Leave little room for error. I've found myself being punished for rolling with a lingering hitbox from an enemy, or really weird timings of the animation. So like a big swing, and it'll hold that swing for a long time. I don't know. I've not really managed to experience it yet, but I don't know if the time they hold the arm in the air with the sword about to swing, whether it changes on the fly, and that would be really interesting if it did change on the fly, but it's hard to say. I've only played it for 3 hours. The weapons themselves have their own kind of weapon art / spell that you can attune to it. So I'm using a longsword at the moment. I've changed out the spell a few times, and you just use them in regular combats or regular attacks, and you'll use your ability with the weapon, and honestly, it flows seamlessly, and I'm really pleased about that, because it feels like something that you're gonna want to use in combat. So it's not something that's just there as an extra. It somehow encourages you to want to use it in combat, and that's a big thing for me. So that's cool. Overall takeaway. Oh no, sorry, I need to mention crafting. I've barely done any crafting. I've collected a lot of plants, a lot of herba, animal meat and stuff like that, and I've made like something that increases your stamina quicker or something like that. So right now I've not really experimented with it or looked too heavily into it, but it's there for sure. So I'm interested to see what kind of things you can make, because you'll buy a textbook or a cookbook from someone, and then you can make new things. So who knows if there's some crazy hidden things you can craft. I still don't know. In terms of items in general, consumables, I've not really played around with yet. Early days. But overall takeaway, I'm going to try and wrap this up. Blabbed on for too long, but it's exciting. So overall takeaway, it's way more than just big Dark Souls, which I know was the meme going around, and I think a lot of people knew it was going to be more than that, but until you really get your hand on it and experience it for yourself, that's when it hits home that, yeah, this is great. This is really good. It's exceeded expectations in a way that I didn't think was possible. It's actually exceeded expectations beyond what I had them at when they were at the highest. So excited to set me alarm for crazy o'clock in the morning. Get back in. There's a boss that I've not beat yet. There's a few bosses I've not beat. This game's hard, right? This game's very hard. And I think people are going to love that about it. I think anybody going in expecting they're going to breeze it, they're wrong. They're wrong. Just like when Sekiro first came out and it was like, fuck, this is the hardest one. This is the hardest Souls game. And obviously people mastered it. And, you know, it's just like the others. You master anything and you get used to it. But I'm really excited to see what people are going to do with this. Even in the network test, the area is really big. Really big. We can't see how big the map is. It only shows you a small square. There's a lot to explore, even in this network test. I'm really excited. I can't wait for February till it drops properly. It's great. It's great. Honestly, I wish everybody could have played the test. I really wish I could have streamed this, but Namco Bandai said no. I checked with them and the FAQ says you can't. Yeah, people were streaming, so... But that's bye. I'm kind of, in a weird way, I'm pleased I got to play it solo because I got to do it at my own pace, take me time, not have to talk and just enjoy it. A few times I was like wowed, I would like, you know, verbally like, whoa, when something happened. I think there's a lot to love in this. I think, don't sleep on it. I don't think anybody was going to sleep on it. If you're watching this, you're probably already fans of the series. Or if you never played the series before and you kind of want someone's opinion of whether this is for you, give it a shot when it comes out. I feel like it's doing way more than what it says on the tin. It's not like anything I've played open worldy before. It's got a different vibe to it. I don't know whether it's just the aesthetic that FromSoft brings, like the world, the enemies. Everything just feels so organic. The weather system, which I've not even touched on, feels brilliant. The music running throughout is so good. Everything about it is just... It's top notch. It's top notch. Yeah. Go and play it. Thanks for coming by, everyone. Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/AntAskew.